Alright, here we are. Looking at another video about, I don't know, something about that press conference the other day, I guess. I didn't watch the press conference, so I don't know what happened in it, but this video popped up, so I was like, well, the title is interesting enough, I guess. And I don't think I've done anything from Crowder before, so I was like, why not see what, see what there is to react to, if anything. Hopefully, it's something.
All right, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Let's take some more
Starting off with a
chat.
good
All
laugh.
right, Tony
Okay.
wants to know. Since the left took control of the government, they haven't attempted to pass one thing the left voters wanted, but
Since the left took control of the government, they haven't attempted to pass one thing the left voters wanted. They did. They did the relief bill. That's what left voters wanted. The stimulus check. Not minimum wage, not the $15 minimum wage, which was disappointing, but um, gun rights wouldn't be attacking the. Okay, well, I'm kind of jumping in early. I'll let him finish the statement, then I'll finish up saying everything.
instead of attack the right via gun rights and removing everything Trump did, do you think the Democrat voters are starting to wake up?
Yeah. Okay. So what the left wants, and this is crazy. I'm sure. I'm sure you'll find this wild, but I think we can sum up the whole video in the first 20 seconds, the whole response, and say, if the government's only actions are attacking what the right did, I think I can speak for most Democrats, even though I'm not technically a Democrat, and say removing what Trump did is part of what they wanted. um, that's kind of what they were hoping for. Along with other things like the stimulus check and stuff. So I think they're getting what they were looking for the most part.
I'm still thinking about him being electrocuted.
Me too.
I think some voter.
I'm a little confused what they're laughing about also. Like I feel like the context of this would make more sense in like I don't know, like a larger show because this is called Bits, so I'm assuming this is from a larger context.
Are starting to wake up and not realizing it. I think if you were to poll, well, no, I don't think. I know that if you poll individual Democrat voters uh, on the actual gun control legislation, not
Ah,
just
there we
asking,
are.
do you think there should be background checks, which there are,
Yeah.
but do you think
They want expanded background checks. But yeah, sure.
there needs to be a full out ban on AR-15s? Most of them say no. Do you think there needs to be a magazine limit? Most of them. Do you think there needs to be a waiting period? Most of them say no.
I don't view that as waking up though. Let's see. Democrat voters. Um Public polling. Let's see. Let's see if this is true. Um 2019, 2019, 2019. Let's see if there's a new one. 2019. God, is everyone doing 2019 stuff? Can I find one that's more recent? 2020. More strict. 57% of the country thinks the sale of firearms should be more strict, which is fluctuated up and down over a long time. Um, how about very satisfied, somewhat dissatisfied? I mean, I don't know. This is very vague. Do you think that there should be a law that would ban possession of handguns? People say no banning handguns. More strict. Wants stricter, 41%. Most of the country does not want less or to keep the same. Total satisfied. Dissatisfied, keep the same. Okay, this was confusing me because I didn't know why you would be dissatisfied with the current law and you'd want it to stay the same, but apparently that is 7% of the population. So that's Interesting. You're not happy with things the way they are, but you don't want them to change. All right. So handguns, no. Is there anything else? Gun ownership. More gun ownership. How much do you worry about the availability of guns? Some. Most of the country says a decent amount. How worried are you? Very worried, somewhat worried. That's kind of mixed. Um, are you for or against a law that would make it illegal to purchase assault rifles? So that's pretty split. Should there be? Do you think there should or should not be a ban on? So 61% of the country here says yes, a ban. So I don't know if I would say the Democrats are saying no. That doesn't seem accurate.
Do you think there needs to be $800 a year minimum insurance to own a firearm? Every single hunter would say no. So it is the big.
Wait. Whoa. Hold on a minute. I thought we were talking about Democrats and not hunters. I mean, like, I'm sure there's overlap, but why do we switch from Democrats to hunters?
Biggest losing issue for Democrats. Yeah. I think you're seeing.
I don't think it is. Clearly, I mean, look, we just looked at the polling, and if 61% of the country wants an assault rifle ban, it doesn't seem like a losing issue.
And what always bothers me is when you have people go like Jim Belushi. I remember him saying, well, not the mediocrity, though that bothers me too, where he said, he was on Fox News. That's what's most offensive.
Oh, yeah.
And he said, I mean, I'm a Democrat from Chicago, right? As though you have to because you're from. Yeah. You get a lot of people like that in Detroit.
Again, I don't know the context of the press conference, but I don't know. I mean, maybe he mentioned from Chicago for reference to a part of something. I don't know in his question. I'm not really sure. But I imagine it must have had something. I don't think it was like him being like, I just need to state my identity.
Of course.
We were like, oh, yeah, I like some of the things Trump says, and I don't like that they're saying.
They don't usually do that very much.
Over to Mexico, but hey, I'm in the UAW. I have to. And I do think
Crowder's louder than I realized.
I think you are seeing a restructuring of the Democratic and Republican parties in that rich white bitches have way too much control over the Democratic Party right now, and that's why you're seeing a record number of blacks and legal Latin immigrants, or put it this way.
I don't think it's because. I think it's just because people like Joe Biden just don't like campaign very effectively. Like clearly, there is potential for ideas that Joe Biden doesn't support, more left wing ideas than Joe Biden's, like Bernie Sanders ideas, in those places because Bernie did very well among Hispanic people, very very well. Like won a majority of them in Nevada and won Hispanic youth by like 85% in California. And he won Hispanic youth by like over 20% in Texas, I think, as well. And I mean, it's like trying to find the word I'm looking for, but it's not that they're not Democrats. It's that the Democrats are not good at reaching out to them. Like when you reach out to these people, they vote for you. They vote Democrat usually, more often than not, except for Cuban Americans. But otherwise, a lot of it, they will go Democrat if the Democrats actually make an effort. The problem is just that Joe Biden didn't, I guess I should say, make that great an effort in his campaign in 2020, which is why they went over. And also, black people overwhelmingly support liberal policies. I don't know, record numbers of people is like, yeah, like 8%.
If you are in the Democratic Party and you unironically say Latinx, Mexicans hate you.
I actually agree, sort of, in a way. Probably not specifically with him for this, but yeah, I've seen polling that says that is not a popular thing. Like that, just don't bother with that. It's not worth it.
Yep. But they don't know it yet. Yeah. Because they've never heard Latinx. They think you're just maybe you have a speech impediment. So.
See, I don't agree with like the speech impediment part. Like people have heard of it. I saw in the poll, like some, like half of people, but most of them did not. The people who had heard of it, most of them did not like it. So yeah, that's true.
There's a disconnect because, again, the gatekeepers of information try and make sure that the messaging is so sanitized and packaged well. But on the individual issues, this is the problem with broad polls. They go, well, most people support expanded healthcare.
Oh wait, oh wait.
Okay.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Do most people support a severe penalty? Do most people support not being able to get privatized healthcare like in a lot?
Yeah, actually, yeah, they do. Believe there was a poll on this in right around the election. Look at that. 69% of people in April of look at that. 70%, 69%. Boom. Yeah, support among Republican voters for Medicare for all is at 46%. So yeah, I think it's safe to say that that is the case, that they're okay with that.
A lot of socialized healthcare countries. Do most people support the idea that doctors can be jailed if they're offering services privately?
Like, I don't know what he's talking about with
Do
that. I don't
most
know what he's
people
talking about with
support
that. I have no
not
clue.
being able to have a handgun, a basic semi-automatic handgun to
Most people do not support that. He was wrong about the first polling. He's correct about the second one, as we saw earlier. But I don't think I've heard anything about a handgun ban. I don't think I've barely even heard anything about an assault weapons ban. I've just heard background checks. Like, I don't think anyone's talked about an assault weapons ban actually passing. Like, I've heard it as an idea, but I don't know if anyone's actually put it forward.
defend your house, which is what a lot of these gun control measures are aimed at. When people say, hey, how do you feel about immigration? Well, by the way, even on a broad poll right now, 60-something% of Americans, I think it was 67%, saw it as a crisis, and Democrats largely responsible for it. But
Wait, back up a minute.
say, hey, how do you feel about immigration? Well, by the way, even on a broad poll right now, 60-something% of Americans, I think it was 67%, saw it as a crisis, and Democrats largely responsible for it.
Wait, whoa. Okay, hold on. I don't. I don't. I'm not so sure about that, honestly. Be open to immigration. Ranked out of future priorities based on. I don't have secure borders. This is like out of 50. Oh, okay, I got it. Okay. Out of 55 priorities for the future of the U.S., Trump's supporters said be open to immigration is 52 out of 55. Biden voters said 27 out of 55. So they're mixed. Have secure national borders. Biden voters said 31 out of 55. So in the middle, they don't not too concerned. Trump said 2. I can't. There we go. Severely restrict immigration 46 compared to 3. I can't click off that. Okay, interesting. That was the whole poll. Are you okay? Thanks. Partisan differences continue to grow. Let's see. Percentage who think immigrants are good for the country. Majority of people overall. Help more than it hurts. Yeah, okay. I don't know. Partisan differences. It seems like most people say immigration is good, but I don't. In 2019, the percentage of Americans said immigration was the most important problem faced 23%. When asked on their views, 76% said it was a good thing, which was also a record high. A majority of everybody believes that immigrants help the economy more than they believe immigrants hurt the economy, which is true. Immigrants are a net benefit on the economy. Republicans and Democrats, but independents more believe that they help. So again, I don't really think I would say 60% of people said immigrants strengthen our country. Yeah, I'm not really sure I'm seeing that.
But most will say, well, yeah, I think we need to have a path to citizenship. Okay. Do you think
I'm
that we
not
should have tens of thousands of people being released into the interior of the United States without any kind of vetting?
Listen, so this is very misleading from Stephen Crowder. The way that this process typically works at the border is that a lot of the people who come over and are released like that are people who are making like asylum claim applications and things, and so they are free while their asylum thing is being processed, and then they come back and then they get a like a resolution, like an answer, like they tell them, hey, yeah, you're accepted, or no, you're not, and so they're incentivized to come back, because if they don't show up to come back to see if they get their asylum thing, then they just don't, as far as I'm aware. Like they have to know, like they have to kind of like finish the process, and so if they don't finish the process, then they're technically in the country without like having done asylum things, and that's a problem. So kind of it's kind of just how international law works, is that you can't trap the asylum people in one place. It's just not really a thing.
Well, no. When they say, hey, we need to protect voting rights, that's a broad poll. What do you think about voting rights? I think we should protect them.
Yeah.
Okay, but protecting voting rights in a general like sense, but like you can take that to mean anything you want. Like you could hear protect voting rights, and you could think that protect voting rights means don't pass the Republican bill that makes it so that way you can't vote on Sundays in Georgia or whatever. Like like they could view that. People could view that as protecting voting rights because it's making it easier for people to vote, and the bill makes it harder. Like protecting voting rights is, you can interpret that however you want.
Do you think 16-year-olds should be able to register to vote? Well, I'm not retarded. Do you think that people should be required to have a voter identification? Well, what do you mean? Do you mean like a membership to the local country club?
Do you think people should be required to? No, because it disproportionately makes it more difficult for poor people and African Americans to vote, because they don't really get driver's licenses because they don't necessarily need them. And those are by far the most common form of ID. So,
No, any identification at all, even if it's free. Well, yeah, I'm not retarded, right? When you pull them on these issues.
is that true? Let's see. Let's see. I mean, not that it necessarily matters. I mean, you can. There we go. 2016. It says people support it. Yeah, I know Vermont, you don't require a document, which is kind of helpful. But this is just telling me. But 2016 is so old. I'm looking for something a bit better. Yeah, 2021 with the Washington Examiner, but I don't know the Washington Examiner, so it seems like they might actually support it, which is interesting because yeah, I don't know. There's not really polling on this apparently. There's like a conservative site, and that's about it. Well, that's not very helpful, but I'm assuming the Washington Examiner is. I don't know. It kind of looks it. They had like the flag. I don't know, just the symbolism. But realistically, I mean, it's kind of problematic for people. It just makes it more difficult to vote. And I know Republicans and probably maybe even people commenting on this video will say, well, you got to stop fraud. But there is no fraud. There's statistically no fraud. So, like, like, there's no fraud. It doesn't happen. 0.0003% and 0.0025%. It is more likely that an American will be struck by lightning than he will impersonate another voter at the polls. 31 instances of fraud from 2000 to 2014 out of more than 1 billion ballots cast. Even this tiny number is likely inflated, as the study's author counted not just prosecutions or convictions, but any and all credible claims. Found similarly negligible rates of impersonation fraud in two studies, 10 cases from 2000 to 2012, and it looked at fraud specifically in states where politicians have argued that it's a problem, found 0 cases from 2012 to 2016. A review of the 2016 election found 4 cases of fraud. Like all voter ID laws do is make it harder for poor people to vote, and the payoff is essentially non-existent. Like there's no fraud to eliminate, so it's like, why do you have voter ID laws?
Issues, but if you just say voters' rights, women's choice, gun control, humane border solutions.
Right.
They poll broadly pretty well, but I think now we are going to have to get into the era of the nitty gritty. And yes, I do think that even a lot of people who identify as Democrats, for example, like my Uber driver, and you mentioned Middle Eastern cab drivers in Detroit.
Interesting. My Uber driver. Does he always get the same Uber driver? Anyways, yeah, I don't know. It seems pretty mixed. Seems for the most part people still support the priorities, but anyways, seems like most people still support the Democratic policy things and Republican policies are not as popular, but
And even people in Chicago right now.
More New York.
Even in New York, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think you'll ever meet more conservative people than immigrants in Queens.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Probably not. No, you're right.
Yeah, and I mean, Arab, Greek, Italian, Irish, a lot of, including, and when I say immigrants, I mean when you get like a lot of
Isn't
African American immigrants, and I mean
Queens-
African American immigrants. I mean,
isn't Queens AOC's district? Yeah. Never find more conservative immigrants than anywhere but AOC's district. It's true.
people who are coming in from places like Cameroon,
Yeah,
Sudan.
Yes.
They tend to be very conservative. I don't mean someone
yeah.
who's 4 generations in American who's
First
black.
generation, yeah. First
Generation
immigrants,
actual
almost
African
everyone
Americans
from
are
that, yeah.
very conservative in the boroughs of New York.
The ones that I've talked to that have driven me in a cab and we've just started discussing things, it's because their country is awful.
Right.
And they think that we don't appreciate everything that we
That's
have.
exactly.
Yeah.
Sure. I mean, I guess I get it, but just because we have things doesn't mean we can't work on improving it. Like, people just want to get more things. Like, who wouldn't want to get more things?
My cab driver said.
Yeah.
He said, I tell people, oh, okay, really? You've always been in America? Okay, how about you go to Syria, especially now that Biden is there and he's bombing it.
I love the conservative talking points about bombing now coming out all of a sudden after Trump did more bombs in the first 2 years than Obama did in his entire 8 years in office. So, like, that's pretty funny. That's pretty ironic.
Like he's the Beach Boys, which I don't even know what that means.
Yeah.
But that's what he said.
They just know the American
Like,
thing.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I thought it was a
Connected.
reference to the John McCain bomb Iran. I don't know.
Could be.
It was the only mental connection I could
What?
make. It was like he's the Beach Boys. So no, I think hopefully that answers your question, and that comes down to you having to do your part with your communication. That's what changed
How
my
did
mind
that-
is. That's what changed my mind is having
did
those
that-
conversations so that when people are forced to rationalize their own positions, people are inherently more conservative. And what do I mean by that?
This has been a fascinating video because the guy basically said the left isn't getting anything it wants. They're only undoing what Trump did, which is what the left wants. And he said, do you think Democrats are becoming aware of this? And Crowder basically spent the whole video talking about the statistics of things. And most of them didn't even support his claim. And now he's saying, hopefully that shows you what you mean. Okay.
Well, Dennis Prager has talked about this, and we've talked about it.
Oh, God.
If you believe that people are inherently good if left to their own devices, well, okay, then you absolutely can justify being a liberal. If you believe
that
that
at all.
if you believe that human beings are inherently flawed, you can use the term evil, or certainly as we believe, fallen and sinful, right? If left to our own devices.
Oh,
because if you
here's the
follow
Christian
your heart,
part,
like
huh?
the Disney movie says, you're going to be a selfish asshole. For
Are
proof,
you?
see
Why?
children who aren't disciplined. If you understand.
Or maybe the context of their environment matters a lot, and the fact that, like, a society with, like, a capitalist system kind of incentivizes greed, perhaps, and accumulation for yourself might have an impact. But
And human nature, then you understand the only way to safeguard that is to not bond all human beings with other human beings who are allowed to be sinful, because then that just
I'm not
becomes
sure
bondage
what the
for
heck
all.
this has to
You
do
are,
with.
as a conservative, saying, hey, we don't link together.
I'm not sure what this has to do with the press conference or the waking up thing at this point. I'm not really sure what the connection is anymore.
the guy who started a
I'm
business,
not
the
really
guy who stayed
following.
open during COVID, the guy who employs 15 people, the guy who decided to not take on student loans because he worked 2 jobs while he was going to a community college,
Bro, do you know
and
how
the
hard that
person who
is
took
for
on
real?
massive loans to study gender studies with a minor in underwater basket weaving, and let's put them in the same
Why does everybody always say underwater basket weaving? Is this like a why is that like the collective thing from
tax
adults?
bracket and
Like
give them the same
Crowder's
kind of
age.
loan forgiveness. No,
Like
that ends up
30s.
being bondage and a punishment for those who have actually worked hard. And by the way, it's a punishment for people working hard, period. Whether they're successful or
What
not,
is the
it's a
connection to this?
punishment against working hard.
What?
It removes the satisfaction, it removes the feeling of accomplishment.
What?
Just in knowing that you tried. They are the Democrats are the Homer Simpsons in this. The lesson here, kids, is never try.
So was that whole rant at the end about Democrats wanting to punish you for trying or something based on what? I don't know. Okay, I don't follow the end thing. That was interesting, but whatever. Thank you for watching. Hope it was interesting, and yeah, have a great day.